All right, hey, we're live, gang,
Woo!
and Tony's gone.
Great timing.
I swear the guy, and last week he goes, "Oh, TJ is chronically late, blah blah." This dude is all over the place, and this is what it is. He's a shipper. He'll blame it on the broker. He'll blame it on somebody else.
Mm.
What he does. But anyways, his son has a sore throat, so he's probably getting him some more mashed potatoes.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what they do up there in
Such a good
Elkhart.
dad. Such a good dad.
Oh, he's such a great dad. Yeah, I think he's called his son a dingleberry.
Yeah.
There he is. Tony says, "Go live," and then leaves. All
Oh,
right.
it was beer time. Got it.
So we've got Ricky on. I'm excited. Tony's come through, man. I've always had to find the guests, and it's been like, man, is Tony ever going to pull his weight? He's just like, my shoulders are sore from carrying him. And then lately though, he's been getting some killers, man, and so it's pretty fun to see. So, anyways, Ricky, give us some background on yourself, what you've done, what you're doing, and what you're going to do.
Damn. Okay. So hello, I am Ricky the recruiter. I'm originally from California, but currently living here in the desert. I have been in marketing in some capacity in my entire career, and then I kind of transferred into a freight situation a little over 2 years ago, not knowing a single thing about the transportation industry, and got onto business development team where I had to learn the ins and outs of what it means to be a shipper. So that was like overwhelming at first, but I was really lucky to have a really awesome mentor, Tara Keller, to help me kind of navigate that. And so it was there that I learned all about freight and transportation. And then my current boss at Freight Fauna actually headhunted me, reached out and said he liked my content on LinkedIn, so and offered a position to be a recruiter. And I had never really done that before, so that was
Is it Lars?
I'm sorry?
Is it Lars?
Lars is the director of the salespeople. Josh Breeze is my boss.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
Yeah, he's a Horns fan. Beat Bama.
Yeah, Josh is. Yeah, he's a big Texas guy.
Same. We chatted about it. It's all good. That was a great game.
Tony you don't hear anything out of him about the Texas Longhorns until they finally have a year in which they're going to be pretty good. Then all of a sudden he's a Longhorns fan.
No, I wear
unbelievable
all the time. I've been a fan.
You can see the Golden Dome from his house,
right,
in South Bend.
I love Notre Dame too.
Whatever.
And then go Boilers, because I went there and so did my daughter.
Well, good.
Love that for you.
Instead of putting your comment up, since I'm on my phone today, will you put some of the other comments up?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, throw those up there.
No, you can't. No, you can stop putting yours up. But we got Matt Dahl, Go Time, excited to tune in. Anthony Hewer, good afternoon. Santa, is it Sante? I always see his name, and I just think it's funny. I want to call him Sanny.
Like, Sanny. He's going to come on here and choke you.
It's Sanny. It's Christmas.
So you got into logistics, like kind of by accident, right? You were headhunted.
Yes, I was headhunted. I was in like a super toxic situation previously, and I was approached on LinkedIn, and that recruiter at the time was like, "Hey, have you ever thought about transportation?" I was like, "I literally don't know what that means." So I Google searched it, and I was like, "Okay, moving stuff from point A to point B." And he was like, "Yeah, don't worry, we'll train you everything, and tell you all the ins and outs." So I was like, "Okay." And it was super overwhelming for the first 4 months. I'm not gonna lie, like it was
probably for all of us.
Things. So yeah,
but now you're stuck in it, right? Like,
yeah.
Did you fall in love with Transpo?
I fell in love with like the people that are involved in it. I would never want to be on the actual transportation side of things again. That was very stressful for me. And like living on my recruiter content management side.
Right. I don't know if anybody actually intentionally got into logistics on purpose, unless it was like from a father-son thing or whatever. Yeah. But we all ended up here, and everybody that gets in it just seems to be like,
yeah,
love it.
Exactly. Well, anybody that stays in it, it is very much a oil and water thing. Like there's people that come in and they just don't get it, and they're out.
Yeah.
But the people that stay, you're in, man. Like I can't see myself doing anything other because I just love trucks.
Just love trucks. We love trailers over here at Freightvana too. Have either of you seen one?
You know what? I'm sure you guys do. You guys are all about the trailers. Staging those photos. Oh, we found another trailer out here in the middle of nowhere. I happen to be driving through Wyoming. Lars I'm on vacation in Wyoming. I see a trailer.
Yeah, it actually happens. We're all over, baby. We're
I love giving those guys a hard time. You guys do a great job. And only because
that's staged.
A lot of my experience, when I first started, I was on the asset side for a long time, and we were big on drop trailers. And that is such a key thing to be able to do. Like if you could do drop trailers, man, you could do a lot of stuff, and it opens up a lot of opportunities. And really embracing that from a broker standpoint, especially. Yeah. And then getting your own trailers. There was always talk about, through the years, TQL is going to get their own trailers, or this person's going to get their own trailers. They never really did. They just got, just like anybody else, they got some extra lease. You know what I mean? And whatever. But like you guys have like your own trailer. That's pretty cool. That's a cool thing. That's taking the next step.
Yeah, and they're good looking too.
Yes, they are.
When someone sends us a picture, we're like, yes.
So can you give us the background on Freightvana? Like what are we, the name, like what?
Yeah, I would love to. So Vana is.
That's awesome. That's a great comment, Matt.
So Vana.
Matt's just jealous because he didn't know what asset is.
Now we get the pronunciation. Love that for him.
Go into this. Keep telling.
Yeah, don't worry about these fools.
Okay. So Vana, as the story goes, means gold in some language. I don't remember what the language is, so it's supposed to be like the golden standard of freight is how I understand the name came from. But essentially, Freightvana over here, we're just really trying to break the mold of what it means to be a traditional brokerage. We're trying to take this really holistic route, and our North Star really is to be the most trusted 3PL in the United States, which seems pretty unique from my experience so far in the transportation industry. And, we put a lot of effort into making sure that our people feel heard and seen and like they matter, and like their happiness and like growth is the pinnacle of what we're trying to do, because when your employees are happy, everything just flows better and everyone's more productive. And then in turn, your customer is also happy. So it creates this really nice symbiotic relationship where it's flowing nice, the vibes are right, and like we're kicking ass. So that's kind of like the approach that we've taken, and we've seen a lot of that and been able in the last 2 years to have some really explosive growth, and without any marketing dollars make a pretty big name for ourselves. So
you're a big part of that, right?
For the last year, yeah, I've had a
Is it me? Am I
the eclectic personality to attract more like-minded individuals?
That's cool.
We kind of lost you there. Was that
super fun?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, we kind of lost you there.
We're having connection problems. So I've had the opportunity in the last year basically to just be myself on LinkedIn and like try to attract more like-minded individuals by just being myself and doing crazy little dancey dances and throwing silly games and events for the office to enjoy, and literally just capturing it and putting that online. And I don't have to mask my personality. I don't have to dress down to fit the corporate narrative. Like I get to completely be my authentic self, and that has really given me a really powerful platform to be able to not have to really go after people, but have people come to us and want to join Freightvana and write the story with us. So that's been a blessing.
Yeah, I just now connected with you today, which was weird because I'm usually connected with a lot of people because I am way more popular than Tony on LinkedIn. And matter of fact, I made Tony. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so it was weird. I'm like, usually I am connected because I do follow. There's a lot of people that follow me, and I feel bad. I could try to go through and follow back, but I go follow people that like what you are. Like that's what we do. Like me and Tony, we're idiots. You know what I mean? When it comes to just being ourselves.
Yeah.
But man, you sit us down and you want to move freight, we're going to move it better than anybody. You know what I mean? But like at the end of the day, we're ourselves, and people like that. You know, I think that's a big thing. There's a lot of people that come out and they try to be fake and act certain ways, and you know, Tony, you know what I'm talking about. We've been through it all. But what I'm saying is that it's pretty cool how you do it, and you've got an advantage. You know, I talk about some of the advantages women have in this industry is you could dance around, or if me and Tony were dancing around, we look like a bunch of dumbasses. You know what I mean? But women are just, I mean, they're more graceful. It's a different thing. Like your personality is very, like you said, it's very, what do you attract? Like you said, you attract people. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's
unhinged, crazy. I
don't
know.
It's like when you bring people into it, like
charisma, charismatic.
Right. But your personality brings people to you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like it attracts people to you. Because it's like, you know what, everybody like in logistics, I'm sorry, but like it is a stressful industry, so like everybody has that goofy side of them, you know. And I used to say that all the time, you know, is like outside of I get real goofy and stuff because like I'm so serious all the time when I've got to move things and I've got to talk to people about certain things, and like, you know, after that it's like why I'm late a lot of times myself, because every one of my shipments I'm so worried about them being on time. I'm so worried about the time thing. And so it's like once I get out of it and I get in the real world, it's like I've got a shipment that if it's late, it's going to cost me $30,000 an hour because it's going to a Ford plant. But then because if I'm going to be 5 minutes late to something myself, in my mind I feel as though that's not a big deal, you know. But like in other people's mind, they're like, oh, well, that, you know, I'm always 10 minutes early or whatever. It's like a weird thing. So like your personality and how you kind of just are kind of out there and goofy, just doing your thing, people are attracted to that. Like they like seeing that because it's like really how they are. And they feel like when they go on LinkedIn, they have to be all professional and they have to be all, you know, like, you know, follow the lines, follow the things, you know. And I tell Matt Dahl this all the time. Matt's my protege. I'm trying with him, but he's tough one to work with. But you know, I give him advice all the time too. It's like, dude, just be yourself, go out there. And he does a good job of it. But it's like, hey, you know, say something, be confident in it. Don't go out and sit on the fence and say, oh, maybe this, maybe that. No, say it, and then hey, get a good conversation going, and be goofy if you need to during it. And everybody loves that type of thing because at the end of the day, if you don't have that, you're just white noise.
And if you're wrong, be like, hey, I was wrong. You taught me something cool.
That's the other thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that people have like utilized LinkedIn just as like it's just an echo chamber or something, or like it can't be utilized in a way that's a social media platform. Like it has to be stuffy. And, you know, the only way, like people are humans on the other end of these, you know, profiles that you're connecting with. So like be a human and capitalize on human experience and your experience. And people are going to relate to that. People are going to like that. So, you know, your story is the only thing that you have that's unique. So why not just shout it to the rooftops? And
you have personality too. I think a lot of personalities are very unique.
But knowing when you put yourself out there that you're going to get critics or you're going to get people to come back, I don't have any anymore. And the main reason was when I was worried about it, they would happen. Yeah. But I'm telling you this, people learn that if they come at me, I'm going to come back with something I literally am going to have a response that's going to make you look like an idiot. It's going to be educated. It's going to be straight up, and it stops because, or I come back with something goofy, right, and turn it the other way, right? Because it's like, hey, I think about it. You know, somebody comes back and at first you're kind of like, man, you're kind of upset, and you're like, you know what? I could play this game, right, and go down this road they want to go down, or I could just turn the whole thing. Yeah. It's all a mind thing. So, and then I could turn the whole thing and flip it and go goofy on you, or go a whole different direction with it. And now they're the ones coming back and explaining themselves because they're like, oh, now I look like a jackass because I was trying to play this, thought we were going to get an argument thing. And so it's like, you know, once you get to the point where you're just confident enough to like, hey, once you're out there, you're going to get it. It's going to happen. Yep. But when people see like what you do and how you do things, they already say, wow, this girl has a lot of confidence. Like to even do this, the last thing I want to do is probably go head to head with her on something and be, you know, try to be a troll in her comments or whatever. Because number one, they see all the people that like you and that are commenting positively, and number two, they already know like, hey, if she's doing this and she's got confidence, who knows what she's gonna say if I try to come at her with something. So
Or
it's like,
all you really have to do is you can shut it down real quick when you just say, yeah, you know what? I learned. You're right. I was mistaken. It's all good. Why I'm here. I'm on here to learn.
I kill people
That's
with
my hair,
kindness.
Anthony.
That's the road I usually take, to where it's like so oozy goozy kindness that it's like embarrassing. Like, ooh, why did I come at that person that hard? Like, now this is uncomfortable. You know?
I don't care. I used to come out way hard. I used to argue with people. Now I don't care.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right. You're
you
wrong,
call
bro.
me at
It's
night.
okay.
Remember when we first started, Tony? Like when COVID hit and we got in with Cassandra and the whole thing just blew up, Chris Jolly.
Yeah.
And we were all starting. Ingrid Brown, Chris Jolly, Brandon Bay, Nerf. Who else was in there, Tony? Tony, Trey, Griggs, all those guys. We're all part of the same group. Like we're on this like show that Mad Games or whatever. And it all expanded from there, but it was like we used to Tony call me at night. Oh, this guy said this, and I'm coming back with this, and like,
I haven't done that in like 2 years.
Hey, I'm up to this many followers. Now we don't give a shit. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, like it is so exhausting to have to like sit there and try to like do as soon as you just get original and natural and like how we started, like what people liked us from was our original responses, our natural responses to those conversations. That's when you do well. When you really try to stage things and be something you're not, people sniff that out real quick, and it also doesn't allow you for a very good response or reaction, and it gets to you a little bit more. But when you're yourself, you're comfortable with yourself. So no matter what anybody says, you're good.
Yeah.
And if you're lying about something, you don't have to try and remember what you told who.
Exactly.
The easiest way to sell and recruit is to just, this is what we are, this is who we are, this is what we do, and it works. And we love it here. You should think about come joining us.
Mm-hmm.
1000%.
Makes it so much easier.
Really, when you look at it too, it changes kind of your approach to the industry. And I tell a lot of people this, and it's like, what's your goal in this, in social media? And at first I was just getting out there because I was bored during COVID and I had a lot of thoughts, and there's a lot of debates going back and forth, right? Mm-hmm. And I kind of slowed down after it got busy again, and I had people reaching out to me saying, TJ, man, I haven't seen from you. I really valued your posts. And most of them, I'll tell you, were, newer people to the industry.
Yeah.
People that and that's when I started to realize that, man, the training out there, the things that, they have bosses that aren't telling them these things, and so I kind of stayed with it. And then what you learn then too is that like the connections you make and what you can, and how important just learning the industry is. You can walk around and act like you know everything, but as soon as because I was cocky, I had moved up real quick in a company, was doing really well, but until you surround yourself with people that continually not only challenge you, but like teach you things. It's why we kept the podcast. I don't bring people on to tell them how to do things.
Right.
They tell us things and we get done and we're like, man, that was great. Like I learned so every single time. And until you open your mind to that, like Tony, I knew he was a shipper and I'm a sales guy. Trust me, man, I'm a shark. Like there's blood in the water. You know how to figure it out. But like, Tony, what did we go like a year and a half before I even asked you for free? Because I was gaining so much from him.
You bet somebody that you would get me, and I tried to head that off because I asked you.
You asked me.
Yeah.
And so, but the thing is, the value I was gaining from just talking to you about things, right? And then the conversations I'd have with prospective customers or existing was way past what I would have done if I would have ruined our relationship by going right to, what kind of freight you got? Can I get on your freight? Can I get on your freight? You would shut me down immediately.
Always.
And then what you do is
then
you find a friend that not only that, but also puts you in your place, tells you things that that you don't want to hear. You see it just in our emails back and forth. Like if there's something that I'm doing or something in my life, even I've got two people. I've got my dad and I've got Tony. That when I call them for a reason. Well, I call them for a reason because I know they're going to tell me what I don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Right. They're going to tell me like what I should be doing or what. And Tony, I do the same thing with you.
Yep.
I do the same with Matt. Matt's on here right now. Ask Matt. I've had those conversations with Matt on the phone. Woo, and I told him, I said, listen, I have the same relationship with Tony that I care for you. If I'm so freaking busy, man. If I didn't have time for you, I would not be talking to you right now.
Yeah.
But I know what you're going through and what you're doing, and this is what you got to do. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying this is. But those are things you gain by just being you and being out there and making connections rather than just looking for likes or comments or whatever it is.
Yep.
And I'm gonna segue this to how do you see that, because that's what you do, into then the recruiting side and the finding talent, because now they're talking with somebody real, somebody who's going to tell them what they either want to hear or don't want to hear.
Yeah. So
what's the conversion?
My goal in utilizing social media is to, one, increase brand awareness for Freightvana, because we're doing this all organically.
Right.
And two, obviously, source candidates. I do that by, taking points of things that I know people are most interested in finding a new job, and what we do best. Those are like the two buckets. So what we do best is culture. We do training and development. We do opportunities. And then what people are looking for is flexibility, is unique perks, is, growth opportunities. And I do my best to package all of the content that I create with those two lenses in mind, and just put it out there. And it works in a way that, the people on LinkedIn that are looking for those types of roles and those types of perks, your vibe attracts your tribe. So, I'm able to spin it to be like, this is what we offer, this is what we have, but in a really fun, entertaining way, so that I get the likes and I get the engagement, so that my post gets further reach and gets to those people that are going to benefit from those posts and from those postings. So yes, reach is important in the sense that it sees more eyes and I can create more opportunities for more people.
And then so I guess the thing is so Freightvana goes out, they find somebody that has no background in transportation. Oh, no, that was, who came to you with when you didn't have background in transportation? Sorry, I was going through my thing.
That was my previous company before Emerge.
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 Before Emerge. Okay. All right. We can say it. We don't care. We have no filter. Yeah. So, right. But you went into, and you ended up going to a sales role, correct?
Yes, it was freaking miserable. Well, actually, I got recruited to be on marketing, and then I got pushed into a sales role.
Yeah. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So that's just how it works. But and it should have sucked, right? Because I always tell people all the time, you're gonna feel dumb, you're gonna feel in sales at first. But what it did was it kind of gave you that background now, and you kind of have an idea of what people kind of deal with or what they even go through.
Yes.
How in tune are you with your sales team and your operations team there at Freightvana? Knowing, when I'm talking to this person and I want to fit them into a certain role, where they may fit, or do you kind of leave it open to have them come in and kind of decide themselves?
So I have a very unique opportunity myself, and I call myself the vibe checker. And I kind of know the general attitude and the general vibe of each department, because each department has their own quirks and, the types of people that typically thrive in those types of roles. So when I'm doing my little vibe check per se, I'm kind of heat checking to see, is this person going to be able to keep up in an operations role, or is this person polished enough for an accounts management role? So that's kind of, I'm asking questions specifically to get that answer out of them without directly asking them certain questions. Because obviously in this type of industry, you're going to sink or float because of the pace, right? So it's my job to kind of make that I'm putting the right candidates in front of the right hiring managers, so that they are getting the opportunity and not bypassing, something that might be better for them. Because sometimes, people in the industry have different shared meanings for different roles and the titles and things. So it gets kind of confusing from one organization to another. So sometimes people will be like, oh, I'm definitely a carrier manager. And then I'll look at their resume and talk to them and be like, wait, no, you should be in accounts. That's kind of my job, to make sure I'm being the right sorting person before they get to the hiring manager, so that opportunity isn't wasted. And
so let me ask you this:
real quick, Tony, let me touch on that, because that just from experience. Sorry, real quick, you go right after me, Tony. I'm sorry, but I got to touch on that because that is cool. That
it is. It
reading a vibe of a team or a division or a group over what the actual what you have to do, just job wise, what the job entails. makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, you can
Because-
teach hard skills. You can teach soft skills.
Yeah, because like you know, like okay, this person would be great at account management, but just their vibe would not fit in this group that we have. Because it's not about anything else except for what you have in front of you, like what you're bringing them into. That's all that matters. And if if that group has a certain vibe and they're not going to fit, then you're going to waste your time putting them there. That's a great. I like that a lot. Go ahead, Tony. Sorry.
No, that's cool. I'm glad you brought that up because that kind of segues right into what I was going to ask. Like, what are you looking for? Like, I know how to look for a driver. I know what questions to ask for a forklift driver or for a load picker or
A nose picker.
load picker.
Oh,
Anyway, what do you look for in like how do you screen? I was talking to this. I talk to everybody about this who is involved in any kind of hiring because I want to become better at hiring. I want to become better at interviewing, and I want to become better at finding what I really try to find.
Mm-hmm.
Give me some techniques or methods, or you can, save that proprietary stuff for sharing with me later privately. But
I'll give you a little taste. So I think it's really important starting off any pre-screen or any interview by breaking the ice and asking them about themselves, because it's very telling when you ask someone what their passions or hobbies are and what they tell you. Because that'll take you in a lot of different segues. And like that, first and foremost, like what people say right off the bat, I'm like, already, okay, I'm placing you into this bucket. I'm placing you into this bucket. Like it's very interesting. And then after that, I typically like to ask, why do you want to work for Freightvana, and like what attracted you to us? And that question is also very telling because that tells me if they did their research. That tells me like what they're most interested in their next opportunity based off of the answer that they've prepared or what's off the top of their head. So those two things to me are like kind of what kickstarts and helps me start to mentally sorting where this person's going to fit best.
So when I'm doing this, I try to feel them out, as I hear you saying you're doing too. You're trying to feel them out on where they're at and their like vibe check. And I try and do that same thing, but man, I don't think I'm very good at it for real.
Here's a trick, Tony. And I remember going through this, and what I found was, of course, in this industry, you get a lot of salespeople, and everybody, whether you're a salesperson or not, is good at selling themselves. Like, especially salespeople, like they'll come in.
Not everybody. No, they're not.
Right? But if you do it a certain way, so like a lot of this, especially in sales, like they want to sell themselves, and they can do that great, but then they can't go sell anything when it comes to actual. They come from wherever. They know you're not going to call their previous employer and ask if they were actually the top producer or whatever, but they say they are, whatever it is, right? So it's like those intermixed like questions that throws them off. Like she said, asking them about, their hobbies or their stuff, like something that throws them off to where they have to stop and think, where they can't make it up. They can't make up anything about Freightvana because they did the research and they didn't. Yeah. Right? Or, I used to throw in, like we'd be talking about something and they'd be going into numbers and I'd be like, well, what sports did you play? Just out of the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, well, I didn't play any sports. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. What are you like interested in? Like, what do you do? Are you outdoors and then also it takes them on a different path. And then they kind of get off, and that's when you get the real, like,
the raw answer. Yes.
Because everybody can come in and be like, and I've had people literally, I've asked them like questions that like have nothing to do with whatever, and they literally go back right into their spiel. Well, when I was leading the numbers, I was leading the leaderboard at my previous job. I'm like, no, I don't care about that.
Some candidates, when you ask them about themselves, what they do outside of work, they go in directly into, well, I was the top producer and I did X, Y, and Z of my company. I'm like, no. Tell me about yourself. Like,
that's how they feel they're going to sell themselves.
Yeah.
And that's how they go into it thinking it. And if you throw them off, it really gets the more organic response rather than just, because there's a lot of times I'm sitting there and I'm not worried about what your numbers were. You know what I mean? Like I've been through hell. You know what I mean? Like these people sit there like, oh, I did this much or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, I've done triple that. You know what I mean? I had no life, but like, I get it. Like we can all do that. I can get you there. I'm not worried about that. I'll get you there. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, what kind of person are you? Like what?
Right.
how do you respond to somebody throwing something at you randomly? Like, can you think quick, right? Can you think on your feet, and are you going to respond to my energy too?
Yeah. Yeah, we like to say around here at Freight Vana, I kind of coined this. We don't want a culture fit, but we want a culture add, because our overall vibe is of the utmost importance. Because, like I said earlier, we can teach hard skills, we can't teach soft skills. And obviously for like operations roles and things, you have to have some of those skills. You have to have some sort of transferable background and experience. Yes, that of course, but it's also extraordinarily important to like fit the vibe and make sure you're not poisoning the water, because a bad attitude or someone that can't handle something in a positive way, that shit is poison, and that shit spreads.
Absolutely.
Like
it's not even as much a culture add as it is a culture boost. Like I'm looking for somebody to come in. This is what our culture is. And I like getting people fired up and seeing if they respond to that. Like I'll be like, hey, we could really use, somebody come in, kind of be a leader, kind of be, I've noticed you got some energy, and you come in and really, step up and really keep this team going. They're really booming, and all we need is that one more rocket to attach to it, and I think we're really going to go. And you could be that person. You feel like you could be that person, and the response to that type of question a lot of times is whether you're gonna see whether they want to just come in and settle in.
Yeah.
Right. And just it's logistics. I'm sorry, but like, you don't want somebody who's just going to come and settle in for just a salary, right? Because there's always a bonus. Now, if you're back office billing, whatever, it's different. But like, if you want somebody that's wanting to chase something, right? Want to be different. And so I try to throw that in there sometimes too, whether or not we need a boost or not. It's always nice to have that, because it just keeps everybody else. It's very, very high. I've been there. I went from, we've got a company that was real small to very, very big. And like the biggest challenge I had was keeping the norm. People will click up, right? They'll find a group that they feel they want to fit in with. And if you let the negative people and the people that want to bitch about things and do things, if you let them run the show, people will click up with them. That's just how it works. It's so weird. It's hard to explain. But if you keep the norm of working hard, but having fun, being successful, and everybody's rallying around, then nobody wants to be that. Nobody wants to be in that one, right? They want to be in the one that's the norm. And right off the bat, if you set that standard and you have people that come in and do that, then you can keep that, because once you lose that, like you said, it's toxic, and it could be a whole different avenue, because a lot of times, at least where I was at, the only people I reported to were the owners. And so, and they were, one of them socially just wasn't, there, right? like he was our CFO finance guy, and the other one wasn't there physically. Literally, it was all around the country. So it was like, they can't. How are they going to respond to that? I had to basically figure it out. Yeah. And it was like, hey, these people, like, if they can click up and they can, come in and rule the roost, they're going to not only ask their friends to come work with them, because everybody wants to have that people that are around them. But like, if they'll weed themselves out, if the norm is let's work hard, let's have fun, let's be successful, let's rally around each other. That's the way to do it.
And you made a point too that I feel like it makes it really hard to keep the standard when your leadership isn't like around or like on the floor or like an active member in day-to-day activities, whether they're social or not. Like, it's really difficult to stay on that line to like continue growth, and as you get bigger, to keep the energy and the positivity up if you don't have leadership.
Hey, I have a question or
hang on. She cut out, Tony. Hang on.
Oh, that's my bad.
That's what you're saying. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. Like, if you don't have leadership that's buying in on, the culture and co-signing on that and on the floor and in the trenches with everybody, not every day, of course, but like showing up for the team, it's really hard to stay that course as your organization gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Those are the little things you learn too. And a lot of times it takes, I've said this many times before in logistics, a lot of leaders are promoted to leaders just because they were the top producers, right? Yeah. You were the top producer, now you're going to be a leader, you're going to teach everybody. Well, not everybody's born to be a leader.
Leadership is intentionally different.
When we restructured and went to the leadership thing, and even our VP, we always call him VP by default just because he was there longer. But, they made 3 directors and a VP, and I was the only one that was kind of had like coached, I had coached before, I had led, and it was funny not funny, but it was cool to see how they were just kind of lost when it came to that. But you kind of learn it you kind of sit back and you go, it's got to be me. I got to be the one then to really kind of lead it. And little things though, like they see your passion. I've always had an office, but I always have a floor desk, and I'm never in my office. And I always like to open my office up to like, hey, you guys want to go in there? You want to go in there for lunch, make calls? You want to go make calls? You got to pick your kids up an hour early, bring them in there. I got a TV in there, take them in there. Whatever. I mean, like that's an open office. I mean, I have to use it sometimes for meetings, but I'm on the floor, and keeping people rallied up because I wanted. Yes, it may be a control thing, but I wanted to know what was going on because you can't train fully in this industry. No. Just on whatever. I mean, like the live training is invaluable.
Yeah.
And if you can't get live training, you can't have situations happen where you're popping up going, hey, come over here. Everybody come over here. Look at this. This is what's going on. And that is something that is so key when it comes to it. But you're right. That's a great point because sometimes, when leaders get thrust into it, they look around and they go, it's just me. I'm the one that have to, I got to step up and do it. And it may be a month until they figure it out. But they're going to be like, what's this decline? There's this decline in culture and everything. And you kind of look around, you're like, okay, the guy I report to is not here. The other ones, somewhere else, it's like, hey, we're growing. They're gone. They're busy. Like it's got to be me. And that's when you really get that. And I try to preach to people too, though, as in like, you're a step away from being a leader yourself. Like we used to sit down every night, after everybody left, and we would talk about who was doing well, because we've got new accounts coming in. We've got things we got to switch up. We've got new divisions we got to do. We're growing, right? So it's like, all right, I got this new account I'm bringing on because we're all doing sales still. And it's like, who can work it? Well, this guy's out vaping and doing hacky sack, 4 or 5 times a day. And I tell these people, like people see that because and it's not a bad thing. Like you can't not do it. So we're not saying you can't do it. But when we sit down, we talk about who's up next, who's next up. It makes a difference. And like if you start leading, man, there's nothing a company wants more than leaders. And if you start leading, just even if it's not your role, you can't say it's not my job, it's not my job. They're like, man, let's find something for this dude. Like we said, what can we do with this guy? Like, where can we put him to lead? Like, we want him somewhere.
Leadership development has to be intentional. But I want to piggyback off of what you guys were saying, because as a guy who's hiring people on my team, like you are, TJ, and like you are, Ricky, I always look at my average and I try and say, I draw a line on my team where the average is. And in my mind, if the candidate is not above that line, I'm not bringing them on. I'm not going to offer them. I'm not going to play a game. I'm like, I already have that guy. I don't want another one. I'm not bringing anybody in that in my mind doesn't bring that average line up. So I look at the strengths and weaknesses and I ask questions about that. And the one question that I always ask people that is not going to be relevant to you in Arizona, but here in South Bend, Indiana, in the snow belt of lake effect snow, shut up. I always ask people, so time is not an issue, but we got 2 inches of snow when you wake up and you're not going to be late, but do you clean off the window and drive, or do you clean off the whole car, or do you do some other part? And it tells me whether are they thinking about somebody behind them? Because a lot of times that whole sheet of snow on the roof of your car will fly up and smash the car window behind you, could break it out. It's just, did you uncover your lights so people can see your brake lights? Did you clean off your headlights so that you can see well going forward? And can you work unsupervised? Do you know what needs to be done and you just go do it because it needs done? It tells me so many things about a person when they answer that. Oh, I just clean off the window so I can get going because I usually run behind. And they'll flat out tell you that. And I'm like, okay, thanks.
Nice little psychology trick there. Damn.
That's why all the people, I don't hire anybody if they don't have a garage. Then I don't have to worry about it. See? Efficiency.
It's a theoretical situation, damn it.
I get it, though. That makes sense.
It's an easy question where you can ask somebody a typical everyday thing for like 11 months out of the year here.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
And then you get to know a lot about them. And then they'll tell you about them without telling you the interview answer. Are you motivated and driven? Well, yes, I am. Oh, really? I see that you're so motivated you wore sweatpants to your interview. Yeah, but seriously, some of the best interviews I've had, were some of the worst candidates, and some of the worst interviews I've had were some of the best workers. And I am myself, I'm challenging myself. I've read books, I've watched seminars, I've gone to training, and I just want to be better at interviewing because I have not nailed getting it right.
But see, that's different. And I think when you're hiring for positions that are just straight, this is what it is per hour or salary, it's a lot harder, I think, to differentiate people
Than sales.
Well, not even just sales, but just in general. I mean, account managers, carrier sales reps, like there's a bonus to earn, right? I mean, there's a fire you could see in them. There's even experience that you see from what they've done before. And you know, Ricky, I mean, like just in this industry, like I've always found like people from the restaurant industry, you know, people that were from, you know, other different industries that tend to be, you know, have their head on a swivel, do well. Those are all like good giveaways of like somebody that could do well. But when you're hiring for somebody, you know, that's coming in to pull a lever or do like it's tougher. I mean, I think it is because heck, they could come in because they're in financial trouble and they work great for 3 months, and then now they're not in financial trouble and they don't give a shit, and then they just
right. I call that the GAD factor, the give a damn, GAD. How do you measure that in an interview? How do you find that? I mean, a bonus is a great way to incentivize that, but how do you pull that out of somebody in an interview so that you can see if they're going to come in there and have an ethic? Like you can't ask somebody about their work ethic because they're going to tell you it's great.
That's true. That's why my question in the beginning, what are your passions and hobbies? That's a great way to kind of gauge what is important to people, because I have noticed that people that respond with answers about relationships or family or, you know, things that really matter versus like, oh, I love my motorcycle and I love watching
scrapbooking,
betting and, you know, things like that. That's a really good indicator that someone's going to give a shit and going to work hard for you, because their priorities are in the right place. And that's, you know, one of the ways that I can ask without asking, what's your work ethic like and do you give a shit?
When we first really started booming up and we were hiring, I remember sitting in there in the conference room. We were in a leadership meeting. We had the two owners, the VPS directors, and we were like struggling with it, you know, because we're bringing people in that said they were going to do it, you know, they weren't the same like fire that we had. You can't expect everybody to have that grind that you have, but like I remember sitting there and listening to Eric Fort, my owner, was going, where do we find another TJ? How do we find another TJ? How do we find another Andy? How do we find another Derek? Like, how do we? And I said, well, you got to think, you know, at the time I had just had my third kid, right? I was traveling too much in what I was doing, and I wanted to come in and I had 3 kids and a wife and everything. And, you know, Derek had just had, you know, and like, you know, Andy I think he even did like, you know, like adoption with kids and things like there were things in our lives that, like she just said, that were important to us that we were working for, you know. Like I remember always telling people, like, I knew I'd figure it out. Like if I wouldn't have had kids and got married, I would have a taco truck in California and I'd still have long hair and I'd be shredded and I'd just be like, because I always make it work. You know what I mean? Like I could talk to anybody, I'll figure it out. But like as soon as you start working for somebody besides yourself, right? When you walk home every single day and you walk in that door and you look in your kids' eyes and like, if you didn't work hard or you didn't do what you're supposed to do, like you just don't feel the same. Like you got to provide. Once you have that, like kind of that mentality, whether you're a mom or a dad, it doesn't matter. Those are the things that matter. Like she just said, like if I say that, man, I'm really working hard because I want to really grow my hobby of scrapbooking, that's different. You know what I mean? Like I could do that by putting in recycling cans if I want to, but so that's a great idea there, because that's what we kind of came up with, was like, we can't go out and ask people like, how many kids do you have, or how's your marriage going, or whatever. But like, you could find people that when you ask them like what it is that their passions are, what they work hard for,
what's your
if they come out with their family or something, it's
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I think that matters a lot, because if you get somebody and they're not all the way there.
Did you write hair, Tony? Did you write that comment?
What are you talking about?
I hate you. Yes, I have hair. And yes, tacos. Thank you, Jason. Jason focused on tacos. Yes. I love this, by the way. I could grow it out.
You have some of mine. I have a lot.
I can grow it out. It'll grow out. You know what I'm going to grow it out?
I have some somewhere else. But
yeah, I'm sure you're like your chest hair is like a Brillo pad. It's like hamburger meat.
I have like 3 hairs right here, and that's it.
That's weird.
Yum.
I'm not very hairy.
Sorry.
So I was thinking, I don't remember what I was saying.
We were talking about our why and how you distinguish that in candidates.
Oh, it's super hard, in my opinion, to distinguish that. And I don't know if it's the difference between the roles that, you know, you're looking for in a like a climate controlled environment with a gong if you're super good, or if it's you know, driving a forklift out in the elements, you know, where there's no AC and it's 100 freaking degrees out and everybody wants to die inside the back of the trailer because it's 130 in there.
Yeah.
But I think that people's reasons change, and I think you have to find that out. And as a leader, you have to continue to have a relationship with each person to find out what their reason is this month or this year or this season. Because I think a lot of people, how do I frame this? So I've been in situations where there was a loved one who was deathly ill, like end of life disease, and you have to maintain their poor performance because they're totally sidetracked with the fact that they need the insurance. And the guy ended up dying in that situation, but he worked for us too, and the wife and the husband were both employed with us at the time, and it was so sad because if I were to guess, he was the healthy one, right? And it ended up being a bad situation, you know. And as a rule, myself, I don't hire husband and wife in the same department just for the simple fact that, you know, if Uncle Ed dies, you lose two people instead of one for the funeral. And not that, you know, I mean, you have to care about people first and foremost because they're the ones that are going to take care of you, but you also have to care about the business and enough to say, hey, if there's a death in the family, you can't lose 4 of your 6 teammates. So I don't mind hiring husband and wife, but I don't want them both in the same team necessarily.
That's a good general rule of thumb, I think, not just for the death reason.
I'll tell you, Lippert, where I work, we have a ton of family members. Like our HR lady, her mom works out on the line, and she used to work out on the line, and she's great. But we have brothers and cousins, and like there's a large Hispanic population that works there, and it's awesome because A, I get great salsa, and B, the family environment is so cool because they're all over and they're all related. And
why is that though? You know, when you look at it from that standpoint, you know, from a working thing and this is kind of segueing into what I was going to say was, you know, everybody that works anywhere they work wants to have somebody have their back.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and when you work with family members, I think they feel that. But I like as a leader, and I was just talking to Josh.
They like enough of what we're doing that they want to bring their family.
Well, not only that, but they also, at the end of the day, Tony, I mean, they like knowing that their mom's in HR, their sister's here, they're over there, they you know, and you know, it's a little bit more security to it. And I was just talking to Josh and John, our you know, some of the leaders over there today, and you know, their approach to things, and it's pretty cool because it's like, you know, you could walk around and micromanage and say this and that, but if somebody's not doing well and you sit down and don't even get into their personal life, just sit down and say, I've noticed you're kind of struggling. What can I do to help you? Like, what can I do to help? Like, how can I help get you going again? Because I know what you can do. I've seen what you can do. You're kind of struggling. What can I do to help? And you're the one now that kind of has their back, right? Because at the end of the day, and I'm very transparent. Like, I'm very transparent when I talk to people, and I tell them that. Like, I've been told by my owners and people are like, "Oh, you only say so much" or whatever. No, I'm telling you exactly who I am. I'm telling you how I make money. I'm like definitely letting you know I make money if you make money. Because then now you know that I literally want you to make more money because it makes me more money, right? But like, I'll sit down and be like, what can I do to help? Like, what can I do to help you? Because at the end of the day, you know, I got to look at it from, you know, you're an employee, but also from a business standpoint. But the business like doesn't do better unless you do, right? So if I got to jump in and help, if there's something on your mind, if there's something going on or whatever, where I have to jump in and help, or if you got to take a day and I gotta, you know, fill in for you, I'll do it. You know, I'll slide in. That's why I always liked knowing how to do. I knew how to do everybody's job. That way, if they wanted to go on vacation or they had a funeral or they had whatever, I could slide right in and do it. And I would do it for a day, you know, or a week even. But it was like I would sit down and say, "What do you need? What do you need? You need help? Do you need help from me? You need anything else?" So they would be like, "Hey, I'm out for the day. I'm gonna pay. You need anything?" Like it was just like little things like that where like they felt somebody had their back.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and Ricky, I want you to go into this. Especially in driver recruiting too, but like even employees, but like retention is just as important or more important than recruiting because you can focus so much on recruiting and I feel like a lot of companies do this.
They
recruit, they get them in the door and then they send them off to a bunch of jackasses and then they can't retain anybody. And then the pressure's still on the recruiter because they got to keep bringing people in and they don't ever really grow because it's just like, yeah, okay, recruiter's doing a great job, but the retaining's terrible. And then, so, retainment, like how much are you involved in that retaining?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually just revamped our new hire onboarding process and kind of everything that entails past that. So, obviously everybody wants to grow and wants to develop and things, but we're very blessed to have some really, really awesome, hard-hitting individuals in leadership positions on the floor. And we have a policy in office where if you're ever curious about a different role or you're ever curious about a different department, like you can absolutely go and shadow and see if that's something that you're interested in. And we also make it a point to only promote from within when new opportunities arise, new departments are created, new leadership is needed. We always, always, always look inward first and give that opportunity to our current employees before we go out and look for it. And me and Josh are known sweetly as the guidance counselors. So anytime anybody wants to vent about something, because we're not perfect, obviously shit hits the fan sometimes, and obviously people get offended sometimes. That's just life. People come in and talk to us and be like, look, this is what's going on. We do our best to kind of diffuse the situation and talk to those leaders and see what we can do to make it better for like the root cause of the situation and like get to the bottom of what's actually bothering people. So we take that not lightly at all. We love that people feel like they can trust us enough to come in and talk to us. Not often does that happen, but people come in and talk to us and give us our problems so we can diffuse those types of situations and make sure they feel heard and like they matter. Similarly, they come and tell us like when stuff's going really positively and things that, they're excited about. And we really try to capitalize on those milestones too. No matter how big or small, we celebrate when, people have reached new goals, when people have done something really awesome, picked up slack when they weren't asked to, and, filled those gaps and did something really cool for their coworkers, like whatever. We are also really good at calling those things out in our team huddles and team meetings and across the company, because it is really important to make sure you're validating your employees and that, you see when they are going that extra mile. Cause, it sucks when you're like working your ass off and you're doing things that aren't necessarily in your job description and it goes completely unnoticed.
Yeah.
Like, that's the worst. So those are the kinds of the things we do to try to retain people.
We just got a global email from Jason Lippert today, and it was a conversation he had with Bob Chapman, the author and one of his mentors, about like what does people-centric leadership look like. And one of the key aspects of that was empathy and getting to know your team in a real way. So if you can get to know your team and understand them and get to know them on a personal level, every single team member that you have that reports to you has issues that they want to talk about, and they're not necessarily work related. Yeah. But you know what? If you can engage that and care about them and help them in any way possible, guess what they're going to do at work? They're going to get after it because they know you give a crap.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street. They have to give a crap. You have to give a crap. And it's not just like, how do I find somebody that'll work like a government mule for me? No, it's how can I be a better leader to them so they want to work like a government mule for me? Because I'm going to work like a government mule for them.
That is a great point that I also want to touch on in terms of interviews. It's not just about us interviewing the candidate in any organization. It's also about the candidate interviewing the organization to make sure that that's something that they want to be involved with. If you don't, candidates, if you're listening to this, if you don't align with the mission and values and you are getting weird vibes from a company, do not continue on with the process. Go find something that you align with, and don't lie about what your capabilities are currently. Like, don't do that, because then you're going to be in a position that you're going to hate, or it's going to be really overwhelming. So like, it's both ways also there. And that's
Santi, I'm going to answer your question. Also, would management be open to suggestions regarding ideas from employees? We have a challenge to our team about being innovative. First of all. Second, we do this thing called Rate My Leader. My team grades me and we talk about it publicly. I'm okay with being wrong. I don't have to be right. I don't have to be the smartest guy in the room, because I know that as a team, we're smarter than all of us put together.
Absolutely.
That synergy comes around, and we make choices that sometimes you pull the trigger and you execute, but a lot of times the team is way smarter than anybody by themselves. And we have people that are at the clerical level talking to managers that get shit done because we talked about it together.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great feeling.
Lippert is very much like that movie with Paul Rudd and Jennifer Aniston where they go to that hippie camp. They pass the peace pipe. Everybody at Lippert, if you talk to anybody at Lippert, they're like, our culture is we talk about, my left shoulder was twitching the other day, and we sat down as leaders and really talked about it and really kind of came together. And I love Lippert. I really do. But I just love you guys because you guys are so sold on that. And I don't know if it's like something in the water up there or what, and maybe it is really that great, but I just love how everybody over there talks about it. And Tony, that's why I always laugh when you talk about it, because like I wrote an article the other day and sent it to my owner, and he passed it out to everybody else. We sat down and we all ate pot pies and talked about how we can really come together as a team.
What's wrong with that, TJ?
This person wasn't doing well. We bought him an RV, and we gave him an RV, and he ended up leaving and just traveling the world, but he's going to come back.
If you love him, let him go, okay, TJ?
I'm kidding. I'm over-exaggerating, but it is cool to hear that. But it really is. I mean, it's like it does make a difference. And
hey, I swore,
especially.
I swore I'd never work for a publicly traded company again, because everything is about the stupid stock price. Yeah. And it's not. It is so different. And when you build into people and develop leaders, the stock price and the production and the quality and all of that stuff comes along, because your people want to be there. They're not slapping parts together.
That's the best thing you can do for your business, is to invest in your people, because that's going to just make everything else fall into place.
Well, man, it sounds like you're working at the right place and recruiting the right folks. And I love it. I'm glad you got to come on.
And maybe your new catchphrase could be, I'm good at catchphrases and ran
slowly. My gosh, here we go. He's going to handle it.
Subscribe to the vibe, right?
Subscribe to the vibe. Okay.
Let's go. You know what I mean?
What's up, King?
So don't let Lars tell you he came up with that, because he's Lars pants on bars. You know what I mean? Like he'll come up with something. But yeah, that was all me. So registered R, circle around it, but you can have it.
Okay.
It's trademark.
What's Sandy say? I've been fired because of it. I don't try to show up managers, but employees do care and would like to push the mission statement for you.
Yep. My job is to make my boss look like a hero.
Yeah, I think that's the main point. That's a great point he's made there, though, was if you guys are, if the company's preaching it from the top, and then you're trying to live that and push it, but your manager's doing something totally different, that really throws everybody off.
Yeah.
I mean, like every level has to be on the same page.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Okay.
That's cool.
You got anything else, Ricky?
No, I think that felt really good. I had a great time talking to you guys.
Well, we're gonna have to have you back again. This was cool.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to actually get into more recruiting stuff for like, what's the difference between recruiting at a brokerage versus recruiting a driver or a factory or something like that.
Well, I don't know that. You don't know it.
Was I asleep there?
You don't know it, but we all know it. So just go Google it. Okay. We got into the good stuff today, which I like. I mean, we can talk about recruiting all we want, but it's the good stuff. Like what differentiates you, right? Like what makes you different. There's a reason you're successful, Ricky, and we wish you even more success. I'll be following you. Everybody go follow her. I mean, I only got to look at her profile like just today, but like, I'm like, it's one of those people, you got like certain people who are like, I wonder if she put anything out today, or like, check it out. So like, she's one of those people that I get kind of addicted on that. So, yeah. So
I was really surprised that your background wasn't super bright and yellow.
Yeah. And it's not like your typical recruiters just putting some post out about this person, didn't get paid this, and you should tell them what their salary is, and before the job, like just like basically playing into the whole bitching thing.
Yeah.
It's a whole different vibe. It's subscribe to the vibe. It's a whole different vibe. It's like
The vibe.
we can have that conversation, but like we're over here, we're rocking and rolling, man. Like we don't have time for the negative stuff. So I love that.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Thanks, Ricky.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And hey, listen, again, go follow Ricky, unfollow Tony, and just keep following me, and we'll keep rolling, man. We got a great show next week. I can't tell you who the guest is because we don't have one yet, but it's a surprise. So once I do know, I'll tell you, but it's actually a surprise because we do have one. That makes sense if you don't think about it. So we'll see you guys next week. Everybody have a good one. Tony, stay off my account.
Can't do it.
See you guys.
Bye.